Well, here it goes. I told a lot of you that I'd read you something about my grandfather from his past and, what he had done in the war and all that stuff. But, bear with me. If I don't sound like I make sense, sorry, I'm trying. Here it goes. There were the best of times. They were the worst of times. Those days on the high seas during World War II, good and bad. That's what the guys from the USS San Francisco were talking about in Detroit during the annual convention last week. Nearly 120 of the old salts, plus wives, and some girlfriends, came from around the world to meet at the airport. Hilton and Romulus. Serving as an official host was Arthur Biskey of Redford. Biskey had good reason to serve as a host. Besides being one of the residents of the area, of the thousands of men who served on the heavy cruiser during the war, Biskey was one of just 55 who served on it for the duration. Biskey saw it all, from the low-flying Japanese planes that came in to bomb and strafe Pearl Harbor one December morning, to important battles at such places at Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, Gilbert Island, the Marshall Islands, New Guinea, Luzon, and Aquanama. He was there when obscure or arcane bits of land in the vast, faraway ocean became instant and indelible pieces of American history. Biskey's tour of the Pacific began in 1940 when a high school buddy at Cass Tech in Detroit suggested the two of them skip high school and enlist in the Navy. The Navy rejected the buddy, but liked Biskey just fine. Late 1941, on December 7th, the San Francisco was in port at Pearl Harbor for an overhaul. Biskey happened to be on deck when the planes came swooping in. We watched the aircraft approach, strafing, bombing, shooting. It was hard to believe we were under attack till you saw the damage being done. It wasn't a panic. It was shock more than anything. Biskey normally was assigned to the turret, but his ship was out of action. So was the gun. Instead, Biskey volunteered to operate a Browning automatic rifle, a big unwillingly submachine gun. As the planes came in upon pulling the trigger, to my surprise, I didn't know how to operate it, says Biskey. With some underestimate, the gun fired so quickly with such a kick back that all Biskey could do was man age and hold on while the gun fired in a big arc like that began near the horizon and ended with a gun pointed directly overhead. Unable to hit a thing, Biskey nonetheless fired away. From that ignominious day, things improved both for Biskey and the Navy. The San Francisco miraculously took no hits that day, but was to be severely damaged in its 17 battles. It sustained 54 major hits, including one by a 14-inch shell that killed the captain and everyone else on the bridge. But Biskey was never injured. I had good time in the Navy days. I didn't get hurt. I saw an awful lot of the world, said Biskey, who was 63, while taking a break from the reunion festivities, which included tours of Detroit, Windsor, Greenfield Village, not to mention drinking in the hospitality suite at night and telling war stories. As the years go on, said Biskey, with a laugh, the stories become more and more exaggerated, and the drinking abilities get smaller and smaller. We get together and we rack our memories from 40 years ago. It's unbelievable what your mind can store, or in some cases, forget. I'm amazed at some of the things they tell me I did on leave, said Bisky. Though the memories and many of men live on, the ship is only a memory. It was decommissioned after the war in the 50s, converted to scrap. My wife and I went to see it on our honeymoon in 1950, said Bisky, and she couldn't believe we could have lived on it for 6 years. When I heard it was scrapped, I did shed a tear. Forgive me if I might, start getting emotional. I kind of choke a little bit. We were a closely knit ship, all nationalities, all parts of the country. There were no color barriers, no race barriers, no language barriers. Up to 1,100 sailors manned the San Francisco at any given time. By the end of the war, it had crossed the equator 24 times, and the international dateline 33 times. In less than 4 years of warfare, its crew had eaten more than 2 million pounds of potatoes, smoked 2 million packs of cigarettes, drank 5 million cups of coffee. The ship was in 17 battles, sinking 3 destroyers and 1 heavy cruiser, helping to sink 1 destroyer and 1 heavy cruiser, disabling 1 battleship and 2 cruisers, downing mine planes, helping to down 6 others and damaging 5. For his part, while serving under a total of 10 captains, Bisky ended up with 15 campaign bars, 17 battle stars as a presidential citation, and 3 bronze stars. I never tell anybody about them, said Bisky, as his medals. I wasn't a hero. Among the remembrance Bisky, as the San Francisco is a black and white potato of him and 6 buddies. Or I'm sorry, not a potato, a photo. Among the remembrance Bisky has of the San Francisco is a black and white photo of him and 6 buddies. They are hard-bellied, curly-haired, smiling. They are 19 and 20 and ready to take on the world from the bow of the ship behind them. 3 of the 7 died during the war. He made it and went on to a fine life. I like being 63. I've got a wonderful wife, wonderful children, said Bisky, who has lived in Redford with his wife, Teresa Bisky, and Lori, all of their graduates. His 3 children, Arthur and Deborah and Lori, all of graduates of Thurston. But many not to be a hero. But Bisky may not be a hero. He may be just a working man at Ford's. But he proved himself something of a poet too. When he paused while talking of the reunion, the 10th annual, yesterday's heroes are what? Today's elderly retirees. The people I met here, it's hard to believe that 40 years ago they flew a plane or manned a gun or chased the girls around. So, as you can see, that's my picture of my grandfather. And I can never join the Navy or service because I had asthma or a missing finger. Ha ha ha. But I've always wanted to do something in honor of my grandfather. And for the longest time, I could never figure it out. But lived up here in Fenton back in 2003, and wanted to be close to my grandparents. And it was the opportunity, so I took it. And all of a sudden, a couple years later, I became after my grandfather had passed away in 2004 of a heart attack, which would actually be this Wednesday coming up. He would have been 83 years old. But that didn't keep me from going further and continuing wanting to do something in honor of my grandfather. So I had decided a couple years ago, after I was on the fire department of Mundy Township, I saw this number, and it just so happened to be that the number 38 was the fire station number, and that kind of clicked in. So I decided, you know what, I need to figure out what can I do. And my first guy in doing my car was Tom at TJ Customs, and I owe it to him big time, because if it wasn't for him, this whole thing really wouldn't have started. And I was going to throw away my engine cover on my car,